At Animal Equality, we've been fighting for farmed animals for 15 years in 8 different countries around the world. We're looking back at all you've helped us achieve in 2021. We help animals primarily through investigative work, our most powerful tool to shine a spotlight on the conditions of farmed animals and change the hearts and minds of the public. Every time our investigators film inside farms and slaughterhouses, we find animals suffering beyond imagination. The investigators' work is truly dangerous, but necessary, because it's only through the footage they collect that we can expose the truth. And as you may know, we act both locally and globally because the cruelty of factory farms knows no boundaries. Animals suffer enormously all over the world. After our investigations into the live animal or so-called wet markets of Asia, we went back this year to discover that despite claims otherwise, these markets are still in operation. This means that wet markets continue to represent a real danger to human health and cruelty towards animals who are brutally killed without stunning. The images we documented inside wet markets appeared in several national and international media, shocking millions of people. These investigations enabled us to launch an international campaign calling for the closure of wet markets, reaching 500,000 signatures that we delivered to some of the world's most influential leaders, the United Nations. The meat industry is not only destroying Brazil's habitats and our planet, but it is also responsible for the suffering and death of billions of animals. We took our cameras to the Pantanal wetlands and Cerrado savannas in Brazil to expose, once again, the undeniable link between animal agriculture and deforestation in these areas. Our footage revealed how thousands of acres of forests are intentionally and illegally set on fire to clear land for pasture or to grow soy destined for animal feed. The animals involved in this process often suffer an excruciating death in unregulated slaughterhouses, where they are killed while fully conscious. Animal Equality also published a report on factory farms in Jalisco, one of the Mexican states with the highest concentration of animals bred and slaughtered for their meat. We reported 44 farms to the authorities, demanding that these facilities be shut down. We then investigated facilities where hens, some of the world's most abused animals, are bred for their eggs. Animal Equality released an exposé documenting forced molting, the practice of starving hens for long periods of time, on farms in Jalisco, Mexico. Deprived of water and food for 7 to 14 days, hens lose their feathers and stop laying eggs to speed up a new production cycle. But animal suffering does not only take place on land, it also happens in water. This is why we have dedicated ourselves to fish, investigating farms and slaughterhouses where these animals are forced into an existence of constant abuse and mistreatment. The discoveries we made in India showed how these misunderstood animals continue to be the most exploited and forgotten. Fish in India, like everywhere else in the world, are killed by suffocation, electrocution, or freezing. They suffer in agony with total indifference from institutions that don't provide even the most minimal protection for them. We investigated the largest USDA-inspected catfish slaughterhouse in the United States, which kills more than 21,000 fish a day. The fish are kept out of the water and left to suffer, gasping for air for long periods of time, only to be decapitated while still fully conscious. Animal Equality also investigated a slaughterhouse of the Scottish Salmon Company, a company that exports to more than 20 countries around the world. The images we released showed unbearable suffering. Despite the presence of stunning equipment in the slaughterhouse, many salmon were slaughtered while still conscious. Gill cutting, beatings, and death without stunning. This is the fate of these animals. In Brazil, we documented cows being slaughtered while pregnant, and the unborn calves are violently ripped from the bellies and discarded on the floor like waste. Every year, approximately 650,000 cows are slaughtered while carrying their babies. But it's not only happening in Brazil. It's a global issue, which is why Animal Equality is active on several continents. We went to northern Italy, a region with the highest density of farms and slaughterhouses. We risk a lot to document the cruelty in these places, and this slaughterhouse confirmed our worst fears. Zima SRL, a company that slaughters more than 3,000 pigs every week and supplies large national and international companies, proved to be another example of how animals are hit, beaten, and mistreated before and during slaughter. There is no end to the abuse of animals, and they are given no mercy. Another investigation of a pig farm in northern Italy was one of the worst that our investigators experienced. We found pigs forced to live with the bodies of their dead companions, with infestations of parasites and filthy conditions where even their most basic needs were neglected. We have been on major television channels several times with our investigations, and in many cases, we have also taken journalists inside these horrible places. In the UK, at a pig farm that is linked to large supermarket chains such as Lidl and Tesco, we filmed disturbing scenes. Our undercover investigator documented piglets being hammered to death, sows being forcibly impregnated and confined in narrow metal cages, and appalling living conditions. The investigation received a great deal of media attention, appearing in The Times, The Independent, the Scottish Daily Mail, and on the front page of the most widely read newspaper in Scotland, reaching millions of people. As a result of our findings, the company has been removed from the Animal Welfare Assurance Scheme, and a formal criminal investigation is now underway. The evidence is clear. The system for monitoring slaughterhouses and farms is broken. This is a problem all over the world. Just think of the scenes our investigators witnessed in Catalonia, the region in Spain where there is the highest concentration of intensive pig farms, and where we found pigs living overcrowded in their own excrement, sometimes severely injured and left to die without veterinary care. All this is just a fraction of what really happens on farms and slaughterhouses around the world that the industry desperately tries to hide from the public. Animal Equality will continue to go undercover in these places and conduct investigations until the voice of the animals is heard. All the results of our work are possible thanks to the commitment of our brave investigators and our supporters. Our work to defend animals addresses a problem so large and widespread that, in order to be successful, we have to fight it on several fronts. And that is why our work is not limited to investigations inside farms and slaughterhouses and on protests on the streets. We are committed to defending animals also in courtrooms and governments all around the world, standing in front of judges and policymakers. And this year, with your support, we've achieved incredible results that have a real, lasting impact on millions of animals. Over 300 million farmed animals, including pigs, hens, rabbits, and calves, are confined in cages across Europe. For this reason, in 2018, Animal Equality joined 170 other organizations in the End the Cage Age campaign, demanding an end to this suffering. Since the launch of the campaign, we've collected 1.4 million signatures. This June, in a historic move, the European Commission agreed to phase out the use of cages for all farmed animals across the European Union, with the aim of banning them completely by 2027. In the U.S., Utah and Nevada became the 8th and 9th states to ban the use of cages in the egg industry. This commitment will impact more than 4 million hens who will finally be able to spread their wings. Some of these animals are just newborn babies, destined to a cruel fate. This is the case of male chicks born in the egg industry who are killed only a few hours after being born. Male chicks can't produce eggs and are not suitable for meat production because of their breed. Because they are considered worthless to the industry, they are killed by being ground alive, electrocuted, suffocated, or gassed. We are campaigning for them in Italy and in the US, where respectively 25 and 300 million chicks are killed every year. Our message of compassion has so far reached the hearts of over 100,000 people who have signed our petition to stop the massacre of these innocent animals. Since 2017, Animal Equality has campaigned for a ban of the importation of foie gras made by force feeding, a ban that so far has only been achieved in India in 2014, where we campaigned relentlessly for 1 year before reaching this incredible milestone. The campaign has received the support of countless politicians and celebrities all around the world, reaching more than 230,000 signatures. And earlier this year, together with British film and television actor Peter Egan and Michelin star plant-based chef Alexis Gauthier, we delivered each and every one of them to the British government. We focus our work where it is most needed, securing revolutionary reforms, like the ones passed in Jalisco and Puebla, 2 states with the largest number of animals killed for food in Mexico. Because of our work, farmed animals were represented in Parliament for the first time in history. This resulted in the approval of a bill to include animals raised for human consumption in the state's current animal protection law that will add meaningful protections for those currently trapped in the system. And we didn't stop there. We secured a series of meetings with the government of Puebla, Mexico, leading to another historical bill to be introduced that bans unregulated slaughterhouses and the slaughter of animals without stunning, impacting more than 100 million animals every year. There are still animals all around the world without legal protection who continue to suffer. Fish are some of the most forgotten and misunderstood animals on the entire planet. Despite scientific evidence proving that fish are capable of experiencing a wide range of emotions, their suffering is often overlooked. And that's why we're dedicated to showing their pain to the world. Thanks to the investigations we released in India, the US, and the UK, we were able to shine a light on the conditions these sensitive animals endure. We presented our findings to the appropriate authorities who heard us loud and clear. The government of India shared with Animal Equality a draft of the National Inland Fisheries and Aquaculture Policy, to which we added a list of recommendations to reduce the suffering of fish. While in the UK, the release of our investigation inside a slaughterhouse owned by Scottish Salmon Company prompted the government to carry out official inspections inside fish slaughter facilities for the first time ever. There is still a long way to go to achieve more protection for fish, and that's why we will continue to work with governments all around the world to secure better protection for them. And again, in the UK, another important result has been achieved. The Welsh government has recently set out new animal welfare plans that include the introduction of mandatory surveillance video in slaughterhouses. This is a measure Animal Equality has been campaigning for since 2019, when our investigators discovered horrific scenes taking place in a sheep slaughterhouse. Due to a malfunctioning conveyor system, many sheep were often trapped in the machinery, and when they couldn't be released, they were shot and decapitated on the spot, in full view of other animals. Looking ahead to what's next, in a joint effort with 80 other organizations, we recently handed in 197,000 signatures asking the European Commission to review all legislation affecting farmed animals in Europe to introduce legal protections. The European Commission will now assess the effectiveness of current animal welfare laws, analyzing their impact and comparing them with modern scientific standards. This campaign, known as No Animal Left Behind, is only one of the many initiatives that Animal Equality is involved in. Another one is EU for Animals, an international campaign in collaboration with 40 other organizations, calling for a European Commissioner for Animal Welfare. And while we are working hard to make sure that new laws are put in place, we also make sure to hold anyone who is breaking the existing laws accountable for their crimes. We do that by filing official complaints to authorities, often appearing in court to be the voice of all the animals who can't defend themselves. At the end of last year, thousands of cows and calves were trapped in 2 ships at sea for over 2 months without fresh food or water. Both ships departed from Spain and were stopped from entering the port of destination because the animals were suspected to be infected with blue tongue disease. Many cows and calves didn't survive and died on board. The ones who survived that spent 2 agonizing months at sea and were slaughtered once they reached the port. Animal Equality is calling for the trade and export of live animals outside the EU to be stopped, as reports from the European Commission, the Animal Welfare Foundation, and evidence from our own investigations prove that there is a complete lack of enforcement of EU legislation on the protection of animals during transport. We also fight for transparency in advertising used by the animal agriculture industry, which lies to consumers with images of happy animals that could not be further from the truth. This year alone, we've filed and won lawsuits against multiple companies, including Champion Pet Food, Tyson, and Amadori, for misleading advertising, forcing them to correct their false marketing claims. When we decided to dedicate our lives to defending animals, we made a promise to ourselves to never forget the ones who we'll never be able to save. Right now, millions of animals are trapped inside factory farms and will never get out. Our corporate outreach work is dedicated to these animals. By working with big companies and corporations around the world, we reduce the suffering of these animals as much as possible. Like consumers, companies have the power to change the rules of the market by adopting better standards for animals. This year, in an effort that involved a coalition of 75 animal protection organizations, we convinced Yum Brands, which includes KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, to adopt a global cage-free egg policy. This public commitment will affect nearly 50,000 locations in 150 countries, which is the largest number of locations ever impacted by a single cage-free policy. Another animal that our corporate outreach department focuses their efforts on are chickens, the most abused land animal on the planet. Working with companies is not always easy. That's why we rely on help from one of the biggest and most organized group of digital activists in the world, the Animal Protectors. Without their tireless efforts, we wouldn't have achieved all these incredible results. With simple online actions like sending an email or interacting with companies on social media, Animal Protectors makes an enormous difference for animals every day. And in mid-December, only a year and a half after the launch of our campaign, the Italian Chamber of Deputies passed an amendment banning the mass killing of male chicks. Our work has been so influential that it's been mentioned in the amendment itself. This is a historic turning point for male chicks, where in Italy nearly 40 million are asphyxiated or ground up alive every year by the egg industry for not being able to lay eggs. Italy will promote the introduction and development of technologies that can identify the sex of chicks before they hatch, sparing millions of lives.
Animal equality exists with the purpose of ending abuse and cruelty in factory farms and slaughterhouses. We are a registered charity, and this means that we count only on you in order to be able to do our work. Please make a donation to Animals Today and help us continue doing our life-saving work. Thank you.